Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm invitation. Hello, everyone who came here today this early in the morning. I hope this presentation will be both beneficial for you all and also quite entertaining, although the topic is not easy. So, first of all, you already heard that. I have significant experience both in design and in ESG. And now I use both of those skills, plus, of course, digital marketing, as also mentioned before, in leading key anti-greenwashing initiatives. This topic is fairly new, and so probably you may have some questions later on. And and majority of presentations done today about this topic focus on communications solely. This one will be for from a designer to designers. So, what is greenwashing? Who of you stayed at the hotel during the conference? Okay, so we have some hands. Have you seen something like that? Basically, it says eco-choice. Don't do, the cleaning and leave the towels on the hanger so that you can be more eco-friendly and help us, the hotel says that, to be eco-friendly as well. Have you seen any of those? Yeah. They've been around for many years now because this is basically the origin of greenwashing. This guy here, Jade Westerfeld, who is an environmentalist and also a journalist, coined the term greenwashing in 1986, so almost 40 years ago, because he found something like that in his hotel, and he didn't like that. So this is basically the origin of the term. Then, in 1980s and 90s, Greenpeace made the term more mainstream because of the, all the oil leakage problems related to some of the big oil companies that were trying to whitewash, or to better say, greenwash themselves. So this is the origin of the word. But now we are in an entirely different area. European regulations, so starting from the Paris Agreement and everything that follows, is heavily focused on greenwashing. So now, greenwashing is not only the matter of, a journalist pointing, fingers into some companies. Now it is a matter of hard legislation, hard lawsuits, and regulations for many companies, actually for majority of the market. So what is greenwashing? I use a term from EBA, so European Banking Authority, but the same definition, if you cross out finance, will apply to all types of products. So basically, greenwashing is any misleading communication related to ESG aspects. E, it's of course environment, S is social responsibility, and the G is governance of a corporate or a smaller company as well. What is also very important, it may be misleading. So for a client, for a private person to sue based on, on the greenwashing, you don't have to prove that there was a financial loss. There could be only an offer based on which someone considered, your proposal, etc. So this is very important. You don't have to cause any financial losses per se. So, of course, if you go on the internet, you will find many other definitions, but this one, I think, it's quite accurate because it also already covers the fact that greenwashing is like all sustainability-related issues, not only E. So it's not only about green per se, it's also about S and G. And it also says that it may be misleading, so it doesn't have to, cause a financial loss. So this is a very good definition. What about the before-mentioned legislation? We have some of it in Poland and some of it in Europe. Those, of course, as Poland is the member of the EU, are very closely connected. So, first of all, we have Act on Combating Unfair Market Practices. This is a fairly old bill. It doesn't touch upon greenwashing per se, so not directly. You won't find term greenwashing in there. But still, based on the definition of greenwashing that covers misleading practices, it's already there, and you can already use this bill to sue someone if you suspect that there is greenwashing involved. Of course, there is also legislation in the EU. I want to stress this one, directive regarding empowering clients in the context of the green transformation, because this bill will amend on our local legal field the one before mentioned. And after it is done, probably in 2028 at the latest, the first bill will already cover greenwashing in very detail. So this is very important, because if you don't, stick to the rules, then you can have, UOKiK. You know what UOKiK is. It's a Polish regulatory who is responsible for protecting interests of customers, of private clients. They can intervene and they can give you a really big fine. So this is the problem with the greenwashing. There are already some good guidelines on how to avoid greenwashing if you are a marketer. So how to write about sustainability in order to avoid greenwashing. I sincerely recommend Green Project by Polish Advertising Council, so Rada Reklamy, who prepared the very good list of guidelines. So first of all, each claim about the environment or also about S and G has to be verifiable. So you have to have a proof, somewhere to link to. Second point is that it has to be linked to an environmental objective or a social objective in the wider context. It has to be precise. So eco-naming, like a general eco-naming, without the link to any hard proof, is forbidden. Next, justified by product features. So there has to be something in the product that allows you to say that this is linked to sustainability. And finally, the communication has to be clear and transparent. And it doesn't matter whether your client is a big wholesale banking company and the CFO or someone, or a private client who is not really accustomed to reading a lot about ESG topics. So this is what it says. Also, your advertising should either talk about your specific product or, and sometimes both, about the company. And those types of messages, advertising messages, are different. I will talk more about it later on. What is very important, you cannot mix those two, but I will talk about it more later on. So it seems that greenwashing is a marketer's problem, right? Because all the guidelines tackle the communication, advertising, etc. In truth, it is not only the marketer's problem. You can have this kind of situation. So the designer comes to the marketer and says, okay, I have this great new green product. Let's talk about advertising, about the campaign. What happens? If the marketer is aware and checks what the product is about, he may say, this product is not green. There is nothing I can do about it at this stage. So basically, a lot of resources have been wasted on designing something that is not right. And this might happen. I won't use memes in this presentation, but you probably all know the meme about the company where there is a boss and 3 employees, and one of them in the end goes out of the window. Know this one? Right. So the boss says, we want to make our company more sustainable in the eyes of the wider public. The first marketer says, okay, let's design a new green product. The second marketer says, let's add a tree planting feature to our existing process. And third one says, guys, it's greenwashing. And then he goes. So basically, this may happen in every corporation and even in small businesses, because now there is a big incentive to propose to your market more, I would say, sustainable products to promote your company in this context, and etc. So this may happen. And this presentation is about how to not make it happen, so prevent greenwashing early on. This is why I prepared this greenwashing matrix that shows like two aspects of the greenwashing. So first, you may have, this is the upper part, a compliant product. So a product that is more or less fine, right? Like there is no greenwashing features in itself. Of course, you can also have a non-compliant product that is quite greenwashy in itself. On the other hand, you have, the horizontal axis about communication. You can have either non-compliant communication, so a lot of like green adjectives, etc. And on the other hand, you can have compliant communication. So what can happen in this, in those scenarios? First of all, you can have the bliss point. So you have compliant product or feature, and you communicate it in the right way. So everybody's safe and happy, right? On the other hand, you can have a product that is fairly compliant, but something went wrong in the communication process. Somebody probably overdid it. So claim that product is more sustainable than it really is, or has a greater impact, etc., etc. So this is what can happen. On the other hand, if you are in the lower part, you can have a situation when you have a fairly good communication, so you don't overdo the green adjectives, but on the other hand, the base product, there's something wrong with it. And the problem is that marketer may not be even aware that there is something wrong with the product, because even designer and product owner may not be aware that there is something wrong with the product. And the worst quarter is the greenwashing dev zone. So in this part, you basically have a non-compliant product, and you market it in a very a greenwashy way. So all those scenarios can happen, and they do happen. So what is a compliant product? So first, let's get back to some definitions. Basically, as a designer in Europe, you have two ways to choose from. One is to be exactly in line with the regulations that say what is sustainable and what is not. This is EU Taxonomy. Basically, this is the best guideline for establishing whether a type of activity is sustainable or not. It works for all environmental goals and for many types of activities. Of course, some of the business activities are not covered by this. For digital products, you will be more likely to use the software. So the software, in this case, we recommend humanity-centered design by Don Norman. This is not a hard framework like the EU taxonomy, but it shows how to include some ESG values, let's call them, into your design process in total. So you can go two ways, hard or a software. It will depend on your type of product. So for those of you who, for example, are, I don't know, designers of web pages or marketers for hard products, like for building industry or for any type of consumer goods, etc., then EU taxonomy is a good guideline. For those of you who work more with digital products, software could be better, but I encourage you to, to read about both of them. So what is the EU taxonomy? How it is built? This is also quite important because if you understand the EU taxonomy, then you are good. I will try to explain this quite a difficult document in an easy way. So first of all, among the 17 SDGs of the European Union, you have 6 sustainable development goals that are focused on environment. Those are here. So it's climate change mitigation, climate change adaptation, sustainable protection of water and marine resources, transition to circular economy. A lot of you probably will work with this one. Pollution prevention and control, protection and restoration of biodiversity of ecosystems. So for an activity, project, product to be compliant with the EU taxonomy, you first have to contribute significantly to one of those goals, at least one of those goals. But this is not the end. This contribution is defined based on the so-called technical screening criteria for many business activities. So, for example, if you are a building company, you will find relevant technical screening criteria for your activity. The second step, this one, is checking whether your product or service does any harm, significant harm, to any of the other goals. So basically, you cannot have a product that is great in the context of climate, but for example, harms biodiversity in a meaningful way. So this could be a problem, right? And finally, if you want to have a product that is 100% aligned with the EU taxonomy, you have to also meet so-called minimum safeguards, which means that all people in your value chain have to be treated right. So no child labor, no modern slavery, etc. And you have to check it not only for your company, but also for your suppliers. So as you can see, this is truly the hard way. So difficult, very difficult. Soft way, on the other hand, relates to the diagram that you probably already know. So for a designer, it is important to focus on the user, available technology, and business aspects. And if you want to use this more sustainable framework, you also add another factor. So environment and ethical values, including also not only environment meant by nature, but also wider social context. So not only your clients, but also society. So this is how you design things for a wider audience. This is not new. Victor Papanek many years ago already said that designers' role should be more responsible and not only focus on the client and meeting the commercial needs of the client. So the software is not new. But getting back to greenwashing, I will show you a framework. This is a market framework. This is not ENG specific, but I can tell you that it works very well. It's based on so-called 7 sins of greenwashing. If you understand them well, you will be able to avoid greenwashing in many of your processes. So first one is the sin of no proof. I will explain every one in very detail. Second one is the sin of vagueness. Then sin of fibbing, which is more or less like lying. Then sin of worshipping false labels. Then sin of irrelevance. And finally, almost finally, sin of hidden trade-offs and sin of lesser evils. So first one, sin of no proof. So it can have many aspects. So first aspect is that we claim something is sustainable, but it doesn't have, it's not backed by the regulations. So I said before about the taxonomy. This is often the case. Second option is that we claim something, but we don't have a proof. So for example, a company that sells solar panels could claim that we have more and more sunny days in Poland. This could be true, but if you don't have relevant meteorological data, you have a problem, right? Because everything you claim in the context of ESG has to be proven. And finally, reliable certification. I will talk more about it later on. So if a company produces, I don't know, garments, and claims that they are like eco-friendly, but has no relevant certificates, then this is also no proof. Here is one example from my field, so from banking. This is one of the parts of the European Banking Authority report on greenwashing. It says that if you don't have enough information to prove that the green, so-called green funds are green, then it could be qualified as greenwashing. For those of you who work in banking, this is also very important. There is a big difference between green finance and transition finance. So you have to know it, and it's also in the regulations. So not all transition finance is green, basically. So this scene usually happens down here. So it's a more scene of a designer than scene of a marketer. Basically, if the marketer commits this sin, we are usually here. So it's because the person got some not quite true information from the person responsible for the product. Remedy for that is, first of all, know your regulations. Second is use those more sustainable frameworks. And if you go this way, then your proof lies within your value proposition. So in that case, you have to know what your product really does, what value does it deliver. And if you stay focused on that, instead of marketing as green and such, then you are probably safe. This is the rule. A good ESG-related product should be like a good UX. Some part of it disappeared, but it should be self-explanatory. So if you have a feature or a product, then you shouldn't have to explain that it's green or something. So if you have, I don't know, CO2 calculator for clients, then you don't have to say what it does if it does it well. So this is basically how it works. Sin of vagueness. So the new regulation that I mentioned before, so this one below, directive on improving the position of clients, specifically bans general claims. So each of those, I will, my timer, here's the timer. I still have a lot of time. So those are banned. And even if you have a proof, be really careful with using those, because those advertising authorities don't really like it. So be very cautious when using this kind of communication. This is the one and only sin that it could happen in the whole matrix, also here. So what can go wrong? How do you think? Is it true? We have sustainable products, and therefore we are a sustainable company. No, you cannot claim that. Of course, when we are further, on the road in the transformation, there probably will be some companies who will be so sustainable that they will be able to claim this, but not yet. We are not there yet. So again, all roads lead to the EU taxonomy. Sin number 3, fibbing. Fibbing is a difficult one, because I'm not assuming that anyone here intends to lie or manipulate their client. But of course, on the market, it could happen. So this is a claim that is really simply false. So like here, diesel fuel is eco-friendly. It is not. But there is also another case and a possibility. You may have a superficial knowledge of some topic and, for example, claim that our company supports nature by planting trees. Okay, what's wrong with trees, you may ask? So first of all, this is a plantation of wood, not a forest. This is a biodiverse forest. know the difference. If you don't know the difference, ask scientists or your ESG department. First of all, forests are great, always. But trees, planting trees itself, is not always great for the environment. Because sometimes it is a business, and sometimes it is done in a wrong way. So many tree planting schemes failed because they were done not in a proper way. The same applies to beehives. Many companies started to put beehives near their headquarters or in some other places, but this is also not good for biodiversity, because this is the same as if you would put hen houses to protect wild birds. Honeybee is our domesticated, let's say, species that produces honey. And there's now, there's a lot of research that proves that for other wild pollinators, putting, beehives around is actually harmful, because, honeybee is a very efficient organism, and it collects food that could be also consumed and used by other less effective species. So this is the problem with beehives. So in this area, we could be both in problem of the designer and the marketer. Usually, the designer could, for example, put tree planting in one of the stages of the process, and this could be a problem. But this problem can also occur on the level of communication. So you can have a product that is quite compliant, but because of the not sufficient knowledge of the marketer, there are some claims that are simply not true, like the one with the solar panels I've mentioned before. So check your facts. There are many tools for that. There are, scientific magazines, Nature magazine, and definitely also stay in touch with your ESG department, because you don't have to know everything. You can ask others to check that for you. Fourth sin, the sin of worshipping false labels. This one is easy. Here you can see some eco labels. One of them is false. Any idea which one? This one is from stock, right? So don't mark your products with anything that could resemble, a legit sign that is, that seems to be, that makes your product look more eco-friendly than it really is. So this is basically the sin. It can happen both on the product design level and on the marketer level. For designers, be cautious about your suppliers, because you may get something from your supplier that seems certified and it is not. So here, beware of your supply chain management. So try to include your ESG people into your POC, for example, processes for additional solutions that you may want to use, right? This is a very good anti-greenwashing guideline prepared by Związek Banków Polskich, so Polish Banking Alliance. And it also describes some of the practices that are universal, not only for banking. And supply chain management is one of those. The sin of irrelevance. So here we can have three situations. First situation is that the feature in question that you present in the ESG context is in fact mandatory. So for example, you can claim that we don't use plastic straws in our restaurants, while plastic directive came into force some time ago, and no one does it, so because it's banned by law. So this is one case. You would do it anyway. So here, an example, we digitize all our processes because we want to save the planet, right? No, we would do it anyway, because first of all, the market demands it. Secondly, this is also very good from the cost point of view. So don't try to pretend that the feature is because of ESG, while it is not. And the final one, and this is the most important and I think interesting for the designers. It's a cherry, not a cake, which means that you present a product or a feature that is focused on gain creators, not pain relievers. So you are not solving any real problem here. And this one, because I know it's difficult even for advanced designers, I will have to explain the difference between the gain creator and the pain reliever. But first, this one, like probably most of them, can happen both to the marketer and to the designer or the product owner. The best tool against it, especially if we are in the first scenario, is knowing your value proposition. What are you offering to the client? What does your app do, and what problems does it solve? Example, if your problem is, your client's problem is that the client has dirty hair, and they have the job to be done, right, to wash the hair, and the gain of the whole process would be nice smell, right? This is the example that explains the difference between gain creators and pain relievers in a very blunt way. So, if the job is to wash hair, the product will be shampoo, right? But the shampoo can have two features. One is the pain reliever, so detergent, so it washes the hair, right? And the second one is the gain creator, is fragrance. So without this, the shampoo will still work. It won't be as nice as the one with the fragrance, but it will still solve the main problem. On the other hand, if you only do this, we are, approaching French Revolution times when people use a lot of perfume to, cover bad smell, right? So general rule here is don't design products based solely on gain creators. Solve real problem first. And this rule is not only for greenwashing prevention, it's for designing any successful product. So as you can see, ESG aspects and the good design aspects are very closely combined. Okay, almost the last one. Scene of the hidden trade-offs can have two versions. One is the life cycle problem. So let's assume that our product is great on one of the stages of its life cycle or on one of the stages of the customer journey. So for example, it's done using recycled materials. But if we don't solve also the problem of further recycling or disposal of the product and still market is as sustainable, then we are at risk here. The second one is closely related to the EU taxonomy, so the regulations I've mentioned before. So we may have a product that is great for one of the environmental goals. Before I told you, for example, about it could be, for example, here, a wind farm located close to Natura 2000 area that harms biodiversity. So it solves one problem, but simultaneously it harms one of the other, environmental goals. So those scenarios can happen. You as designers will probably encounter this problem more often and how to solve it with your tools. So first, an example. This is a lead from soy sauce that we purchased together with some vegan sushi. How do you think? Where should it go? Plastic, bio, other? Seems easy. It should go to other, unfortunately, because it says commercially compostable, and Warsaw doesn't have a relevant composting facility. So, in the customer journey of the client of the sushi parlor, it seems like a great solution. But if we look at the whole process related to disposing of this lead as well, then we will notice that the product is not as environmentally friendly as it seemed, because we don't have the right infrastructure in our city, right? This problem is more often the designer's problem. So you feel the difference, because it's either taxonomy or customer journey. So the marketer gets the final, oh my God, I did what? Okay. So for this problem, the best answer is to simply ask more questions. In many design processes related to ESG, we jump to solutions too fast. So this is a quote from last year's OpenEye Summit. The lady there was an environmentalist, not a designer, but still asking more questions during the design process could probably save you from this one. And also, great tool is to use customer journey map, or in the more advanced mode, for example, service blueprint. So, any tool that will show you the whole process related to the product will suffice. Okay, and again, for the second option here, your tool will be checking for do no significant harm in the technical screening criteria for the taxonomy, but probably you won't do that often. Okay, and the final one, the sin of lesser of two evils. This is an easy one. So you promote a product from a harmful category as a better alternative. So for example, you can have like good cigarettes or diesel oil that is a little bit better than normal diesel oil. This is more likely to happen on marketing stage, only because there are some industries that are still in transition. And I'm not saying that you cannot market those products, but be transparent. This is the key rule here. There's a great book by Jay Shetty. I think I used the Polish version, but it's Think Like a Monk, that shows the 4 gates, actually 3 gates from original Vedas, that you can apply before you issue any type of communication. So first one, you have to ask yourself, is it true? Second one, is it necessary? So is the communication really relevant? Who is it for, etc.? Is it kind? In this part also goes the right timing. So for example, now when we have the crisis situation in Poland, we want, it would be, I think, it would be quite, you have to have empathy and prioritize your messages, right? So you won't be talking about some of the topics because there is a more important topic on hand, right? And finally, this is not from Vedas, this is from Jay Shetty, is the communication in line with your company's tone of voice. So this is all about transparency. So 2 examples of greenwashing, also for S and G, because I know it could be counterintuitive. First example, there is a young female director called Madeleine Sackler who does a lot of movies focused on social issues. And that would be great. But do you know Sackler name? Does it ring any bells? Opioid crisis. So she is from the family responsible for opioid crisis. And it's not like she cut off her ties. Those movies are financed by Sackler money. So this is example of social washing, probably. Governance washing is a tricky one. I found this example in a book by Diane Sudic, who is director of the London Design Museum. It's about British police in the 80s when they had a very bad press due to some, reasons and their behavior towards citizens. They decided to improve their image by employing a very well-known design agency. And the design agency decided that the best way to improve, the press for the police was to change the font from the, Times New Roman-like, very chiseled, to like a handwriting style, because it would be like, softer, more, nicer, etc. This is, of course, example of governance washing, because it's not like police changed their way of operations. They just pretended to do that using a softer font. The police, their ratings improved when they switched from horses and police cars to bikes in UK. So as you can see, this is a real change because probably policeman on the bike is less threatening. So again, use all kinds of available guidelines that are there, even if they are not for your industry. I can recommend sincerely those two. And I'm almost done. To summarize, key takeaways. First of all, if you are into designing any stuff related to ESG, web pages, communication, apps, processes, doesn't matter, know your regulations. Second one, involve ESG people and marketing people early on in the process. You are designers, you already know that. Interdisciplinary teams, this is nothing new to you, but please do that. Use your designer tools in a new way. So as you could see, you can use value proposition canvas, you can use customer journey canvas, you can use your asking questions skills to know more about the process and avoid pitfalls. Again, data and facts before adjectives. So you have to have a proof for anything you claim in the ESG context. And finally, it may be simple, but it's the most efficient. Tell the truth. And to summarize, beautiful quote from John Keats, beauty is truth, truth beauty. That is all you know on earth and all you need to know. So thank you very much, and I'm waiting for your questions.
Thank you for sharing your unique perspective on greenwashing. And we have a couple of minutes left for maybe two questions from the audience. So I'm wondering if you have one, you can raise your hand. OK, we got one.
Hi, I'm Darek. Thanks for the great presentation and outstanding examples, I think. I have one question. Maybe you know, if the company actually is doing some kind of greenwashing, what is the actual fine or punishment the company can get for all those practices?
It depends, because greenwashing can happen the worst case scenario is if it happens in the customer context, and if it's a part of misleading practices regarding consumer, then it can go to UOKiK, and then the bill that I mentioned before is applicable, and the fines could be very high. Now in Poland, there are some legal, I think there are 8 legal lawsuits related to greenwashing. I don't know the result of majority of them yet. In the world, it also happens that companies sue one another based on some of the greenwashing data. I think it's not the case in Poland yet, but first of all, it's not only fines can be big. It's like in percentage of your income, right? So it depends on the scale of the business, but still it can be painful. But this is also about fair customer treatment and about your reputational risk. So it's not only the losses can be not only related to the fee itself, but to your reputation, and it can also have like a long-term effect on your position on the market, etc. But the fines go in millions, in case of corporations, even in 100 millions. So it depends on your size, right?
Thank you for the question. I got one from myself. Who do you think should inform society about possible flaws of tree planting programs?
First of all, NGOs already do that. But I think that also corporations who employed those type of schemes before should do that as well. Problem with tree planting schemes is that in corporate context, they were often closely related to net zero claims. So they were used as offset. We already know that offsetting in this way is wrong. So if anyone did that, then I think it should be explained that this is not the way. The problem with tree planting and offsetting is that even if you do it in line with the EU taxonomy, which is not the case for like 99% of tree planting schemes, then you have also problem with proper measurement. To measure CO2 emissions of any nature-based solutions, you need to employ micrometeorological methods. It's called eddy covariance. So basically it works like that. You have a forest, you put like a micrometeorological towers there, and after some time, after also some heavy data processing, you may get information about emissions or sequestration. It's not ideal. And the claims of the companies related to tree planting were often, we plant these trees to offset this amount of CO2. This is like totally wrong from the environmental and from scientific perspective. Of course, you can assess, but even if you assess, even if you measure properly, your forest may burn down. And why is it a problem? People often think that sequestration is filtering, so exchanging, CO2 to oxygen in the air. No, sequestration is binding CO2 in biomass. So when a tree grows, of course, it does photosynthesis, so it also, exchanges CO2 for oxygen. But sequestration is about tree growing and collecting biomass. The problem with that is that when your tree burns down, then your offset goes into the air. So basically, all claims related to offsetting stuff with trees are methodically wrong.
Thank you for this really interesting and precious insight. And let's show our gratitude with a round of applause for Tamara Binczak.